The line at the checkout is moving. A customer reaches the front, lifts a phone, holds it near the terminal, and there's a small chime. The cashier hands them the receipt. The whole thing took maybe 2 seconds. The phone never touched the terminal. No PIN, no signature, no swipe. The customer turns and walks out. So here's the question nobody really stops to ask. What just happened in those 2 seconds? How did your bank know about the purchase before the customer was even out the door? How did a piece of plastic with no battery, no screen, and no power source say anything to anyone at all? And how is it that a transaction that travels through 6 different companies, 3 networks, and one of the most sophisticated security systems in the world feels exactly like nothing? The answer involves a Hong Kong subway system from 1997, a French banking pilot from 1992 that put the United States 23 years behind, and a tiny coil of wire in your wallet that's never once transmitted your real card number to anyone. Here's the first thing most people get wrong. They think your card sends your account number to the terminal when you tap. That's the entire mental model. Plastic talks to machine. Machine reads the number, charges the account. It just happens to be wrong. Your real card number, the 16 digits printed on the front, is almost never transmitted during a tap-to-pay transaction. Not once. Not even encrypted. The number that travels from your card to the terminal is something else entirely. A stand-in, a one-time pseudonym for your account that's useless to anyone who steals it. But before we get to the security, look at what your card actually is. Inside that little rectangle of plastic, hidden in the corners and along the edges, is a coil of incredibly thin wire wrapped multiple times around the perimeter of the card. That coil is the antenna. Connected to the antenna is a small chip, the same EMV chip you can see on the front of the card, the gold or silver square. That's it. No battery, no power source, no clock. Your card is a completely dead piece of plastic until it gets close to a terminal. Quick favor before we keep going. If you've ever wondered about the engineering hiding inside the small everyday objects you carry around, hit that subscribe button. We dig into the science behind the things you use without thinking. Now back to the tap. Here's the part that should genuinely surprise you. The terminal in front of you isn't reading your card. It's powering it. Inside that little black machine on the counter, an active radio circuit is generating an electromagnetic field that oscillates 13.56 million times per second. The field projects out of the front of the terminal in a small bubble, only about 1.5 inches wide. When you wave your card or your phone into that bubble, the antenna inside your card picks up the field. The energy from the field generates a tiny electrical current in the antenna. That current powers the chip. Your card, dead a moment ago, suddenly has just enough electricity to think. The chip wakes up. It runs through a startup sequence. It identifies itself to the terminal. The terminal sends a request asking what payment method this is, what currencies it supports, how to format the transaction. The chip responds. They negotiate the protocol they're going to use. All of this happens in about 1/10 of a second. Then comes the part that nobody outside the payments industry usually gets to see. The chip generates 2 pieces of data. The first is a token, a unique number that represents your account but isn't actually your account number. The second is something called a cryptogram, a small encrypted bundle that contains the transaction amount, the merchant ID, a timestamp, and a sequence number. The cryptogram is signed using a key that exists in 2 places only, inside your card, and inside the computer at your bank that issued the card. Nobody else has it. Not the merchant, not the terminal, not Visa or MasterCard, just your card and your bank. The terminal packages the token and the cryptogram together and sends them off into the system. They travel first to the merchant's acquiring bank, the bank that handles the merchant's account. That bank routes them through the card network. Visa, MasterCard, Amex, Discover. The card network sends them to your issuing bank. Your issuing bank looks at the token, finds your real account, validates the cryptogram against its own copy of the key, checks your balance, runs a fraud algorithm against your spending pattern, and sends back either an approval or a decline. The response travels backward along the same chain. Card network, acquiring bank, terminal. The terminal beeps. The cashier hands over the receipt. The entire round trip, 6 companies and at least 4 computer systems, typically completes in under 2 seconds. Now here's the history almost nobody knows. The technology your phone just used at the checkout didn't come from Silicon Valley. It didn't come from a payment startup. The chip card itself was born in France. In 1974, a French inventor named Roland Moreno patented the original idea of putting a microprocessor on a credit card. It took almost 2 decades to commercialize. By 1992, France was running pilots with Carte B on Serre. By 1995, the 3 biggest payment networks of the time, Europay, MasterCard, and Visa, formed a consortium to standardize the technology globally. The first formal EMV specification was published in 1996. EMV stands for those 3 founders: Europay, MasterCard, Visa. The name was reportedly chosen at a meeting in Chicago, where the engineers debated whether to call it MDV, MEV, or VME, before settling on EMV based on the alphabetical seniority of the founders. The first true contactless tap-to-pay system in the world wasn't a credit card at all. It was a transit pass. In September 1997, Hong Kong launched the Octopus card for its subway and bus network. 3 million cards were sold in the first 3 months. People could tap a card on a turnstile and walk through, no fumbling for change, no inserting tickets. It worked so well that within a few years it could be used at convenience stores, vending machines, and McDonald's. The world saw what was possible. That same year, ExxonMobil launched Speed Pass in the United States, a small key fob you could wave at a gas pump to pay. Both systems use the same fundamental technology that's in your card today. EMV released its formal contactless specification in 2004. The United Kingdom rolled out chip and PIN nationally in October 2003. France, Germany, and the Netherlands followed quickly. The United States, with the largest number of credit cards in the world, didn't begin its EMV migration until 2015. That's 23 years behind France. The reason was simple economics. American magnetic stripe cards still mostly worked, fraud losses were absorbed by the banks, and replacing every terminal in America was extraordinarily expensive. It took a wave of high-profile data breaches in the early 2010s to finally force the upgrade. Now here's the surprise that most people miss completely. Even if a thief stood next to you with a battery-powered NFC reader hidden inside a backpack and somehow scanned your card through your jeans, they would still walk away with nothing useful. The token your card transmits is one time. The cryptogram is one time. Both are immediately invalidated by your bank the moment the transaction completes. Even if the thief somehow captured the data mid-transaction without your card finishing it first, they would still need the secret key inside your bank's computer to forge a working cryptogram. They don't have it. They can't get it. The system was designed in the 1990s with the assumption that some attackers would have unlimited time, unlimited equipment, and access to the network itself. The math still holds. You've been participating in this same fundamental system in dozens of places without realizing it. The Octopus card in Hong Kong, the Suica card in Japan, the Oyster card in London, the SmartTrip in Washington, D.C., all running variations of the same NFC standard. The hotel room key that beeps when you wave it, same physics, simpler authentication. The badge that lets you into your office building, same chip, same antenna, different lock, your e-passport. The chip embedded in the front cover when the border officer scans you in is the same family of NFC technology. ISO 114443. The wireless pairing button on some Bluetooth headphones, where you tap them against your phone to connect, often using the same NFC chip. Your dog's microchip, same RFID family, inserted under the skin, powered by the vet's scanner exactly the same way your card is powered by the terminal. The toll tag in your car windshield, depending on the system. Apple Pay, Google Pay, Samsung Pay. The same protocol, with one extra layer. The mobile wallets store the card token in a hardware-isolated chip. On the phone called the secure element, requiring biometric authentication before the chip will even respond to a terminal. Every single one of these systems is doing some version of the same handshake that happened at the checkout. A radio bubble, a passive antenna, a chip waking up just long enough to say one specific thing. A network of computers verifying that thing in less time than it takes you to put your wallet away. Now for the honest trade-off. Tap to Pay isn't immune to fraud. Card not present fraud, where someone has your card number from a data breach and uses it online, has actually grown as physical card fraud has dropped. Skimming devices that try to read contactless cards do exist, though most are blocked by the 1-inch range and the one-time token design. In 2021, security researchers demonstrated a sophisticated attack that could trick some terminals into bypassing the PIN check on a stolen Visa or MasterCard card. The card networks issued patches. The fight is ongoing. There's also a reliability concern most people never think about. Every part of the chain must work for the transaction to complete. The terminal needs power and an internet connection. The merchant's acquirer needs uptime. The card network needs uptime. The issuing bank needs uptime. When any one of those fails, the cashier suddenly has to fall back to manual entry or send the customer somewhere else. Resilient redundancy is built into the system, but the dependency on connectivity is real. So here's where you land. The 2 seconds you spent tapping your card or your phone wasn't a simple wireless transfer. It was a passive antenna powering up inside a magnetic field, a chip generating a one-time cryptographic signature, 6 companies routing a verification request across the planet, and an issuing bank running a fraud algorithm against your spending pattern, all before the cashier had finished saying thank you. You've been participating in one of the most reliable real-time financial systems ever built, designed in France, refined in Hong Kong, standardized in Brussels, deployed worldwide, and operating quietly inside a piece of plastic that has no power, no screen, and no idea what your real card number is. If you think tap to pay is weirder than it looks, wait until we get into what actually happens when your bank declines a transaction. Because the moment your card gets declined, what's running in the background isn't a single rule. It's an artificial intelligence trained on billions of past transactions, deciding in real time whether the person tapping the card is actually you. And the way it decides has very little to do with the amount you're trying to spend.